podcast One Student, One Creativity.
Hello everyone, welcome to the RE Academy podcast. One student, one creativity, where we have fun conversations about books and the world of literature. I'm Atika Serliniana. Today we are diving into a timeless classic, Alice Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Of course, I'm not alone. Today, I'm joined by a fellow literature lover and an avid reader, Fauzia Alconita. Hi Zia, how are you?
Hello, Atika. I'm great, and honestly, I'm very excited to talk about this book. Alice's Adventure in Wonderland is more than just a children's story. There's so much to explore, so I'm very excited.
I totally agree. And today we will be analyzing this novel using the 7 response reading strategy from describing, engaging, conceiving, explaining, connecting, and then interpreting and judging. Let's get started! Before we start, I'm curious if you could enter Wonderland, which character would you want to meet first, Zia?
Probably I would like to meet the caterpillar because, he's chill, and I think we might vibe with each other. Though I would end up even more confused if I meet him first. But I like him. I like his vibe. But what about you?
For me, I think I want to meet the cashier cat. He always seems to have some mysterious answer for everything.
Oh, I see. But isn't he creepy? Why do you want to meet him? He's kind of creepy to me.
Uh, Actually, yes. He's so creepy, his face. But, yeah, I just want to meet him.
You just want to meet him. Okay. And I also think he disappears suddenly and imagine if you're talking to me and he just vanishes oh my god, that would be super creepy.
That would definitely be confusing. Alright, let's dive into the book. Let's start by describing the world in this novel. If you had to picture Wonderland, what would it look like?
So, I imagine Wonderland as a super colorful world where everything keeps changing one moment and it's a giant flower garden, and the next it turns into a castle made of playing cards. The characters are also very, very strange to me, like the Cheshire Cat who disappears or the Mad Hatter who only speaks in riddles.
Exactly. To me, it feels like a dream world, totally unpredictable but fascinating. And if we look at film adaptations, like Disney's version or Tim Burton's, they depict Wonderland as a mix of fantasy and madness.
Yes, actually, I really agree. And do you know, actually, Alice in Wonderland has the game version, which is called Alice Madness Returns.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that.
Yes. So Alice Madness Returns is basically Alice in Wonderland, but if Wonderland was a horrific fever dream born from trauma instead of a quirky, whimsical place, instead of just being curious girl who follows a rabbit, Alice in this game is actually dealing with major PTSD from her family dying in fire. And Wonderland is her escape. It's now a twisted and bloody nightmare. And yes, it basically takes the classic Alice in Wonderland story and cranks the darkness up to 1000, turning it into psychological horror journey instead of trippy adventure.
Wow, what an interesting game! Thank you for your information, Zia. I think I will play the game later.
You should play that.
Alright. And then, when you first read this novel, how did you feel? Was there a part that immediately caught your attention?
Actually, right from the start, I was very hooked when Ellie suddenly fell down the rabbit hole. She had no idea what was waiting for her, and I felt like I was falling with her. It is very, very interesting to me.
Yes, That scene is so iconic. Me, I was instantly drawn in when Alice met all these bizarre characters, like caterpillars, who smokes and then talks in riddles. It really felt like stepping into a world full of surprises.
I agree.
And then, what do you think is the main idea behind this story?
Hmm. Main idea. I feel like this novel represents how a child sees the world. It's like full of
Mhm.
confusing rules and strange experiences. And Alice often gets frustrated because nothing in Wonderland makes sense. Like when she meets the Mad Hatter at the tea party.
That's a great point, Zia. Maybe it's also a reflection of how children struggle to understand the adult world, I think, which can seem completely illogical at times. Wonderland almost feels like a metaphor for that.
Actually, yes, I agree with that.
Do you think there's hidden symbolism in this story?
I definitely think so. For example, Alice always changing sizes. That could definitely symbolize the emotions of growing up. Sometimes feeling too small and powerless, and other times feeling too big and unsure what to do.
That's an interesting take. I also see the Queen of Hearts as a symbol of absolute power. She's always shouting, off with their heads, without any reason, just like an irrational ruler, I think.
Oh yes, I agree. She honestly was such a good Brit in movies, but like I do like her characters, but honestly, I think she got on my nerves. Like she wanted to have her way and she has the power to do so, but like she forces other people to like go with her way.
Yes, that's quite how it is in real life, right?
Right, exactly. Even now in government, people might have a little too much power in their heads, just like the Queen of Hearts. But like I think it is not exactly just about government though. I think everyone who has the power in general, they will definitely be the same like her. But like, of course, not everyone is like that. But most of them are probably that controlling and stuff.
Yes, I agree with you. Have you ever felt like Alice in real life, Zia?
Definitely yes. I felt like Alice when I started college. Everything was new. There were so many things I didn't understand, and it was a little overwhelming.
Same here. I felt like Alice when I had to work with new people on a group project. I was so confused, unsure how to react them, and then constantly wondering if I was doing things right.
Yeah, me too, actually. And also, I think that me and Alice are kind of similar. Like, sometimes I do a lot of impulsive stuff, and obviously, I ended up regretting it just like her. And I also think that my mood swings a lot just like her. What about you?
Wait. Actually, yeah. Sometimes I do that too.
Yeah, almost we all do that, right?
Yes. And how do you think this novel should be interpreted? Is it just a fun children's story or is there something deeper?
Hmm. I think it's much more than just a children's book because every character and event in Wonderland could represent something in real life. I mean, for example, the white rabbit is always in a hurry. Maybe he
Mhm.
symbolizes the pressure of time and how we always feel rushed.
That's a great observation. I also read the theory that this book could be a critic of strict education systems. Alice is constantly learning new things, but everything is confusing and full of strange rules.
Oh, well, that makes sense. And what about the Queens of Hearts? She's always shouting off with their heads, even when there's no real reason. Maybe she represents how some governments use fear and strict rules to control people.
Exactly. She doesn't actually carry out her punishments. She just creates a constant atmosphere of fear, I think.
Yes, I think so too. That could symbolize authoritarian leaders who rely on threats rather than justice. People obey not because they respect the laws, but because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't.
Overall, what's your final opinion on this novel, Zia?
Well, I think Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a book that can be enjoyed at any age. Kids might see it as an exciting adventure, while adults can find deeper meaning hidden within the story. And I definitely like how the whole movie is described and drawn. I think the world building is very interesting too, though it might be a little hard to imagine. But we have the movie, right? I think that's a very helpful one to visualize the book itself.
I totally agree. This novel is like a maze. You can explore it from different angles, and every time you reread it, you discover something new, right?
Yes, exactly. This book is like Wonderland itself. Absurd and strange, but always exciting to explore.
Alright, before we wrap up, here are a few fun facts about Alice's adventures in Wonderland. Did you know, Zia, that the character of the Mad Hatter is often linked to a real historical condition called Mad Hatter disease? In the 19th century, um, hat makers used mercury in their work, which caused poisoning and symptoms that were similar to madness. This inspired the eccentric, crazy character we know today.
What? Is this really? I never knew that. Like, I never knew that. I didn't realize that Mad Hatter was connected to something so real and serious like that. But like, it's amazing though how they took a real issue and turned it into character. That's iconic, honestly.
Yes.
But do you know? Here's another fun fact. When Alice's Adventure in Wonderland was first published in 1865, it wasn't immediately an instant hit, but over time, it became a classic. And now it's been translated into more than 80 languages and making it one of the most well-known children's story in the world.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing how a book that wasn't so popular at first turned into something so timeless, loved by people of all ages everywhere. And lastly, here's a cool detail about the Cheshire Cat. Lewis Carroll is the author was inspired by a real-life cat he saw in a shop. This cat had a very mischievous smile, and it inspired the idea of the Cheshire Cat's mysterious grin that disappears and reappears. This character became one of the most memorable and strange in the entire book.
What? No way. That is actually very interesting. But like, imagine if you like in real life and you actually meet a cat has a mischievous
Mhm.
smile. Don't you think that's creepy? Like if it's
Yes,
if it's in a movie, it's like okay, sure. But like in real life, that is creepy.
actually,
But
yes,
like I
it's so
think
creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like I think that's actually interesting though. I love that little bit of history behind such quirky character, you know. The Cheshire Cat is definitely one of the highlights of the story.
Exactly. It's always fun to learn these behind the scenes facts that makes the story even richer. Wonderland itself is a place of wonders, both in the story and in the history behind it. Well, that was such a fun discussion. Thank you so much, Zia, for sharing your thoughts.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed talking about this novel. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk in this podcast.
Yes, my pleasure. And to our listeners, we hope this conversation gave you a fresh perspective on Alice's adventures in Wonderland. See you next time!